hear me? Can you hear me now? Turned it on. What happened? I'm good. Okay, 1 second. Can you hear me still? Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So just want to thank you guys for coming, because I know everybody is extremely busy, right? And especially to take an hour out of your day seems like a lot. But when you think about, you know, even today with a 24-hour period, but even this week or your life, taking an hour for yourself is exactly what you should do. And then some. So I just want to thank you guys and everybody who's watching us live right now. So I'm hoping that today, after you guys leave, that two things. You'll feel a little bit better about some stress and anxiety that you may be feeling right now with everything that's going on. And then the second thing is that you'll walk away with some strategies that you can really use daily in your life. So my name is Gina Buhner, and I'm an assistant principal at Fox High School. This is my 12th year there. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background as to why it's me here talking to you today. You'll notice after my name, I didn't put any initials like MD or anything like that. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I do deal with a lot of stress because I've dealt with thousands of teenagers over the last 12 years, which, you know, as if that's not enough. But what I do have, and why I did put those letters behind my name, is because the reason why I'm passionate about this and why this is something that I love to talk to other people about is because I do have one of the best learning tools that you can have anytime you're trying to teach something or share something, and that's experience. So again, not just experience at the high school and with the kids that I have, but I also have experience with severe stress, with severe anxiety, with deep depression, with PTSD symptoms. I've experienced with all of that because in 13 days, it'll be 6 years that I buried my 17-year-old son after a crash when another driver pulled out in front of him. So I've learned to use a lot of these tools and a lot of these strategies, and that's where I want to share them with you because they do work, and they are real things that you can use in real life for yourself, for your family, even for your kids. So I like to show this first as just like a check-in, right? I love farm animals. I have some at my house. I don't have sheep, but I love these guys. So if we were to ask ourselves, you know, how are we feeling right now? If I were to ask you back in February, right, when we knew that spring was right around the corner, pandemic wasn't here yet, right? Everything was going good. We may have been a number 2, we may have been a number 9, may have been a number 6. Right? Life was pretty good then, about 7 months ago. And then if I ask you, how are you feeling this week? You know, you may say a 3, you may say a 4, and some of us may say this, right? I give up. White flag, I surrender. And Lord knows we have all had these moments in the last 7 months, probably more than what we would like to admit, right? Whether if it's for ourselves or, you know, trying to teach your kids at home, trying to manage your work schedule and their schedule. We've all had times where we just feel like waving the white flag and say, you know, I'm done. Can't do this anymore. Some of us may even have this in the morning as our little cup of coffee, right? I'm not a big coffee drinker, but this would be Diet Pepsi for me for sure. Like this guy saying, I'm just a little tired, just a little stressed. I'll just drink this little cup of coffee and everything will be okay, right? So sometimes, you know, we turn to things like that because we think I just need some energy, but we're not really focusing on the root of the issue is that we're not sleeping well because we're super stressed and we have lots of anxiety going on. I love this acronym because it's very true. Stress is in someone trying to repair every situation solo. And trying to do something solo that's stressful, that's overwhelming, that's scary, also evokes fear, right? The feeling of being alone or going through a situation alone is one of the worst feelings that you can feel, right? Because it helps when you know that someone else, although their experience may be a little different, they're still experiencing the same situation that you are, right? We are all in this pandemic together, but everyone's home lives are different and everyone's experiences are different, but we at least know, hey, you're stressed? Yeah, is it not close enough? Oh, is that better, maybe? I can use the other mic. What if I take this off? Hang tight if you're watching us live. We're fixing my mic. Okay, think we're good? Okay, so welcome to the year of overwhelm, right? And Lord knows these last 7 months, I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's been about 5 years, packed in 7 months. Like it feels like we've been in this situation for a long, long time. What I just want to remind everybody is that during this time, please remember to give yourself some grace and some forgiveness, because we're going through something that, I mean, how often does a pandemic happen, right? And everything else that's going on right now in society and in life, it's super, super overwhelming. Lots of things out of our control. So when we do get to that point where we feel like we're spinning out of control and we want to wave the white flag, give yourself some grace and give yourself some forgiveness. We've all got to do that, because we're going to plan things out and they're not going to go as we have planned. We're going to, do something and maybe fall flat on our face. We're going to forget things. It's hard to stay focused when you're super stressed. So give yourself a little grace and forgiveness when those things happen, because really, we're our worst critics, right? We're really hard on ourselves because we expect perfection, especially when you're parents, right? And nobody wrote a book on how to raise children in the most effective manner, right? If we did, we'd be millionaires. So nobody has that out there. So make sure that you give yourself grace and forgiveness. This is extremely important. And it may sound cliche or silly, but you have to remember to breathe. And by breathe, not just, short breaths. Yes, I'm getting in oxygen. I'm still not holding my breath. We're talking about like deep breathing and really filling up your lungs. Feeling your abdomen expand so you're opening up your diaphragm. Because when you do that, you do help everything else calm down. A lot of times, if you've ever had a panic attack, during a panic attack, you'll feel your heart racing and your breathing is very shallow. And then it gets scary because then you feel like you're not getting oxygen into your lungs. I have many students who come down to my office with panic attacks. And, that's the first thing that we focus on is your breathing. It's just getting them to concentrate on their breathing, slow, deep breaths, because that will help bring your heart rate down. It will help bring your blood pressure down. It will help lower the stress a little bit. And then you can start problem solving as to what do you need for that moment to help you. And just as a reminder, as human beings, it's really the build up to the unknown sometimes that stresses us out the most, right? And even if you're not a planner and you're not somebody who has to have everything planned out in envelopes for, all kinds of things and lists for all kinds of things, but a lot of times it's the unknown that we get stressed about the most. And right now we're living in the age of the unknown, right? And we don't know how this is going to go. We don't know what the next couple weeks hold or the next couple months. We don't know for sure when kids are going to be back to normal, right, in school. And that's stressful because we do want to know. And especially as parents, we're in charge of these human beings. We want to be able to prepare for what's coming. And when you don't know what's coming, it's hard to prepare. So what we also need to remember is what is natural when we're feeling like this. It is natural to be stressed in stressful situations, right? It's natural to be sad whenever sad things happen and to get angry whenever bad things happen. That's natural. We're human beings. That's how we're built. Those are natural emotions. Fear is one emotion that can help save our lives, right? Fear of jumping off a bridge or running out into traffic or touching that hot stove is something that helps keep us safe. So just remember, having these emotions they're natural. So there's nothing wrong with us for feeling stressed or feeling anxiety-ridden or overwhelmed. It's natural. But when it's to the point where it's an interruption in our daily life, or we're not functioning, then that's when we really need to pay attention to it. And even in those natural moments of stress and being overwhelmed and anxiety-ridden, there are still things that we can do to help bring that down. So even though it's natural, you don't want to stay in that state, right? We want to put things in place to help us calm ourselves down so that we can focus on other things that are important. And what we don't need in the midst of a struggle is shame for being human. And that's what I mean by these are natural emotions. There is no shame in admitting to someone right now, I feel like waving the white flag for this situation, 'cause I don't even know what to do. Or I am so stressed right now, I am so overwhelmed, I need to cry for 10 minutes and get it out. There is no shame in that because it's totally natural. So when we talk about stress and anxiety, what areas are we vulnerable? We're vulnerable physically. We know we're vulnerable emotionally. Usually that's the first thing that we recognize on us, right? Psychologically, behaviorally, and interpersonally. And you'll see this in kids too who don't have, some of those coping skills. A lot of times it will come out behaviorally or interpersonally, and it's not personal. That's their coping skill for dealing with that stressful situation or feeling so overwhelmed. Like some of the kids are right now and some of the parents are right now, because you've got all of these things that you're trying to organize at home so they can still learn. And you don't know where to go for this and which Google Classroom to check for this and what's the code and password for this. When is this assignment due? Right? So it can come out in any of these. It can affect us in all of these areas. That's why it's important to pay attention to it, because it does affect us bigger than just our emotional state. I love these pyramids because it gives you a visual of where we want to be functioning brain-wise. So I didn't mention in the beginning, but besides my personal experience, I've done lots and lots of research. I've attended countless conferences and seminars and talked to medical professionals in regards to what we're talking about today: self-care, stress management. And this is very science-based as far as the brain science behind what happens to us when we're going through these situations that are extremely stressful. So if you look at the upside-down pyramid on the left, the typical development, right? Whenever we don't have these super stressors in our life, whenever we don't have these major traumatic events in our life, your brain is functioning at the top level, which is where your cognition happens. That's where problem solving happens. That's when learning new things happens, right? Because everything else is in check. Survival down there is your brainstem. So, everything's in check emotionally. You're aware of how you're feeling emotionally. You're self-regulating, and you're not in fight or flight mode. You are learning new things, you're problem solving, you're able to concentrate, you're able to focus. You're functioning from the cortex, your upper lobe of your brain. If you look at the right, we need students to be functioning in the cortex, in the purple, so that their cognition is wide open, right? And they're learning new things and problem solving. But if they're functioning at their brainstem because they're in fight or flight mode, they're not able to process new things. They're not able to learn new things. They're not able to focus and problem solve because they're functioning down in survival. They're functioning in their brainstem, which is your fight or flight mode, which is super stress. That can be a traumatic event. It can also be chronic and toxic stress. Chronic meaning, we're going through this every single day. So they very well, and we very well, may be functioning in our brainstem when we need to be functioning in our cortex so that we can learn, we can problem solve, we can organize, we can stay on task. Your brainstem controls all of those things on the left, right? Basically, it keeps us alive. So if you notice, if you have any of those things in the blue, your heart's beating super fast, you have tachycardia, you're sweating, you have shallow or fast breathing, you have weight gain or loss that's sudden, inability to focus, loss of memory, you might be functioning in fight or flight mode. You may not even realize it because you're just so used to it, it's become habitual, right? That's how your day goes. It's super stressed. You just had that small cup of 200 ounces of coffee in the morning, right? So you very well could be functioning in fight or flight mode right then, when it's really you're trying to sit down with your child and organize their work, or you're trying to organize your work at home or get yourself ready for work and take care of them and get them ready for their learning. It's hard, really hard. So some interventions when we're talking about children or even adults or teenagers, we use this at the high school, who are functioning in their brainstem. Interventions are things that we would do with babies. So if you think about a baby that's crying, what do we do to soothe them? You're rocking them back and forth, right? We're always swaying. We're patting their bottom. We're bouncing them up and down. We may be singing to them. So all of those things, those major movements, when we're in fight or flight mode, they help because they start to stimulate those upper lobes of the brain so that eventually you can work your way through the midbrain and get to the cortex. Rocking chairs are awesome. I'll show you a picture of the reset room we have at the high school, and the rocking chair is the first thing that the students use when they're having an anxiety attack. Bouncing, swinging. When's the last time you swung on a swing? It's hard to say, right? I can't tell you the last time I did it, but it is fun if you think about it. Swinging, listening to music. We had music on a little while ago, but I always play music in my office. You can Google relaxation, stress relief music, concentration music, and just have it playing softly in the background. You'd be surprised at how much that helps. Swaddling, you know, I always tell the teachers, I'm not telling you to go swaddle a 16-year-old, but this is exactly why weighted blankets are so popular, right? So that does help. We have those blankets in our reset room. We have big fuzzy pillows that are soft to touch in the reset room. Humming and talking in soothed tones. They're targeted and purposeful interventions. And they help trigger the upper lobes of your brain so that eventually you're starting to function from your cortex. It gets you out of that fight or flight mode. This is our reset room at the high school. And I'm showing you this because this would be something really easy to do in your kids' room or your living room or a quiet place that you have at home. This is a small room for us, but it worked out perfect because we have one student in there who uses it at a time, and it only takes about 10 minutes for them to work their way through when they're in fight or flight mode. So when they first go in, and we go over this with the kids so they know, and it's like they train themselves. They know whenever they're panicked and it's to a point where they've got to do something about it, they'll come down, they'll go through the reset room, takes about 10, maybe 15 minutes, and then they're ready to go back to class. So this would be something you could easily do at home. If you have a rocking chair or if you have a glider, anything that provides that type of motion at home is perfect. Again, we have those are fuzzy pillows on the ground because a lot of kids, after they're in the rocker, they'll sit on the floor and lean up against that back pillow. To the right, you can see we have a workspace, and there's targeted and purposeful interventions that are at that workspace. So on the wall, I think the next picture shows that, there's posters just to get them to start thinking and start focusing on how are you feeling right now. Recognize your feelings right now. Recognize what emotion you're feeling right now. Are you mad? Are you sad? Are you calm? Are you scared? And then they work through these. I feel however they're feeling because what happened? So identify what happened to make you feel like that. And then they work through, I need to take a break. And there are things on there that they can do at that point to help them refocus. So some of those things include Selfcare sheets where they're writing down their senses. It's good to focus on your senses. So what's one thing you see in the room? What's one thing you can hear in the room? What's one thing you can smell in the room? So we have a diffuser in there that lets off some lavender, and we have a Chromebook in there that plays that relaxation music in the background. There's also the adult coloring books. There are puzzles, lots of hand manipulatives. Play-Doh is also a good one, silly putty. All of these things, and just like those, you can get at the dollar store. So it's really cheap, and it's not just, the kids will think, oh, this is cool. Even our 16, 17-year-olds at the high school are like, this is so fun to play with. So, they think it's fun, but it really is purposeful, right? Because having that in your hand and being able to manipulate something, or getting yourself to start concentrating on using the colored pencils or the watercolors, gets you out of that fight or flight mode. And then there's the shelf where we have lots of other supplies that they can use. So that's just an example of something you could even implement at home, even for yourself, not just for the kids. Rocking chair is good for you. All of those, even puzzles. Do you know how fast puzzles went when we went on lockdown? Really fast, because they work. And I even went and bought puzzles. Oh, sorry. I even went and bought puzzles, and I was never really a puzzler, right? But I loved it because it gave me something to do instead of focusing on what's on social media, what's going on in the news. It gave me something to concentrate on, so it helped. When we talk about taking care of yourself and taking care of those that you take care of, we're talking about all of these aspects. Again, because stress doesn't just affect us emotionally, right? It affects us in all of these areas. So when we talk about taking care of you, we're talking about physically taking care of you, cognitively taking care of you, emotionally and socially taking care of you. So the first thing you want to do, just like when the kids go in the reset room, is kind of recognize your feelings. Just do a quick mental health check-in with yourself. What thoughts are preoccupying your mind right now? You're trying to focus on getting your business or your work or your house organized or your kids ready to go, but you can't concentrate. So what's preoccupying your mind? How are you feeling mentally at that moment? Recognizing your emotions, right? What things are you avoiding dealing with? I'm an avoider, right? I think we all are to an extent when it's something we really don't want to. How about tax season? Right? I avoid that like the plague. I'm a director of a nonprofit foundation, and it gets very tricky. So, I wait till the last minute on that thing just because, it's stressful. But sometimes you just got to push yourself a little bit, get out of your comfort zone, and you realize it really wasn't that bad, right? It really wasn't as bad as what I thought. What's one thing you can do to improve your mental health? What do you need right now? Sometimes what you need right now, maybe just a piece of chocolate, even if it's just psychological that helps. Maybe you do need a cup of coffee, right? Or maybe you need to go sit in the rocking chair I know that may sound silly, like you go sit in timeout, but go sit in the rocking chair for 5 minutes, listen to some music, pull up your favorite song from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, whatever. Whatever helps you in that moment. Sometimes you need to do what you need for you, because if we're not okay, we can't help everyone else be okay. So again, recognizing and addressing your emotions, it gives yourself more time to manage your other important tasks. So identifying the stressor, what is stressing you out? And try not to avoid identifying what's really bothering you just because you don't want to say it. You got to really identify what is really bothering me right now, what's really stressing me out. And then identify ways you can be a resource to either yourself or your child. If it's that you're trying to help your child with their homework, and believe me, even 5th grade homework right now is challenging, right? And we know everyone's wearing the hat of an educator right now and a parent right now. And we'll get to another slide that you are wearing so many hats, you don't even realize all the roles that you're playing in your life right now. So identifying the ways that you can be a resource. You're not going to be able to be a resource for everything. You can't. No one is. What can you provide and what can you not provide? Just like what can you control and what can't you control? And control is important because a lot of times we stress out and we let things consume us that we have no control over. So all that stress and all that anxiety isn't going to help anyway because it's not going to change it. We can't control it. We can't control the pandemic. We can just control our response. Recognize what you do bring to the table because everybody does. You have strengths in certain areas and other people have strengths in certain areas, and that's what makes a good team. Is by using those strengths and realizing, you know what, that's really not my strength. You can always try and you can always learn new things, but you absolutely bring something to the table. And maybe it's not the 7th grade math lesson, but it is, hey, I can help you organize this. I can help you get your plan together for the week so that's not stressing you out. And I can help guide you to where you can get some help to do these problems. Realizing that you don't know what you don't know. So don't expect yourself to know everything because we don't even realize what we don't know, right? And I can tell you, your kids don't expect you to know everything. Even when you do know the right answer, how many times do they say, Mom, you don't know? You're my mom, right? Collaborate with other parents on strengths. If you have a son or daughter who needs help in math or needs help writing a paper or has a foreign language and you have a friend who is really good at that and speaks 3 languages, use your friends as resources too because you are in it together. Set a few goals for the day and cross them off as you complete them. Even if it's a sticky note you put on your refrigerator. Because being able to cross that task out and knowing you got it done and you got out of the way, if you haven't done it, really does take a weight off your shoulder, knowing that I got it done. Because otherwise you sit there thinking, man, what else was it I had to do today? I have so many things I have to do today, and you're trying to keep track of them all. Write down a few goals for yourself and then mark them out as you get them done. And remember, it takes practice. All of these things, recognizing how you feel takes practice. And sometimes, especially for kids, but even adults. When my son was killed and somebody would ask me, what are you feeling right now? I don't know how to describe that. How do you put that into words? How does a kid who has a difficulty even recognizing what stress is or what the difference between being sad and being mad is, how do they explain that? So it takes practice. Once you've been able to identify what is stressing you out, this is an excellent strategy to do, and you can keep it to yourself. You don't have to let anyone know you're doing it. It will help you organize and get rid of some of those stressors that really don't belong to you that you don't have to carry. So when you've identified, here's what's stressing me out, make yourself a list and then make a T-chart. And on the left side, categorize your stressors. On the left side, put the ones that you can control. On the right side, list the ones that are out of your control. And you will realize when we do this, and I've had teachers come back to my office and be like, Buhner, we did this T-chart. She had her whole class do it. And she was like, I can't tell you how much it helped and how much we realized what we were stressing about, the load that we were carrying every day, that we had no business carrying because we couldn't change it. We can't add more time in the day. We can't, unfortunately, just snap our fingers and make everything go back to normal, right? So we have to focus on the things that we can control. When you make this T-chart and you have that list of what I cannot control, and you can mark that out and say, I'm not going to stress about this anymore. I can't. And I know it's easier said than done. It takes practice to be able to say, I'm not going to let that stress me, right? And again, stress is natural when you're in a stressful situation, but we cannot let it consume us, and especially when it's out of our control. So, but being able to realize that and be like, man, I would look at all this stuff I've been stressing about. I can't do anything about it, but all of these things I can do something about. That's what I'm going to focus on, is what I can control. Here's an example, and this is a pandemic example of things you can control, things you cannot control. So in the inner circle, you can see what you can control. The outer circle, what I cannot control. Look on the right. I cannot control the amount of toilet paper at the store. And how many other things has that led to? We joked about caffeine in the beginning. I told you it would have to be Diet Pepsi. I drink water, and I drink from Walmart those little packets of flavoring because I don't like plain water. But I use the energy ones. They're all out. And they've been out for 2 weeks at every Walmart that I've been to. So, and I have no idea why. Like, is someone hoarding the energy, or is everyone like need it as much as I do, or what? But that was stressing me out because I was like, I'm not gonna be able to function. I mean, you know how if I don't have my coffee, or if I don't have my Diet Pepsi in the morning, if I don't have my energy drinks throughout the day, what am I gonna do? Well, guess what? I've been doing it for 2 weeks, and I'm still here, and I'm still okay. Because I had to realize, okay, I can't control what's at the store. I'm not the manufacturer, I don't ship it. I'll just find another way to help deal with when I get tired and I hit that 2 o'clock, I need a nap feel, right? But you can see all the things on the inside. We can control our attitude. We can control our response. We can turn off the news. How stressful is that? Right? We can stay off of social media. And social media can be great for connecting with people, but I'll tell you what, especially at the high school, the social media, the role that social media plays in the self-esteem of people, comparing themselves to the perfect vacation and the perfect family photo and the perfect body and the perfect hair and the, guess what? First of all, there's how many filters can you use, right? Lots of filters. You know, we've all seen people that were like, that's not how you look in real life, right? Or all of these families and all of these teenagers that have the perfect boyfriend and the perfect girlfriend and everything is perfect, right? It doesn't exist. Nothing is perfect. No one is perfect. No home is perfect. No family is perfect. But we compare ourselves to that. And kids really struggle with that. So that is one thing that I would urge everyone to even encourage your kids, right? If you, before the pandemic hit, if we were out at a restaurant and you were having dinner with your family and you looked around, how many families would you see conversing verbally versus how many families would you see on the phone, right? Where everyone in the family is on their phone. And I'm guilty too. I'm not saying I'm innocent, right? I catch myself at home. It's my husband and I at home. And we'll be sitting next to each other on the couch. We're both on our phones. I'll tell you I'm playing solitaire because I'm totally addicted to it. But, you know, he's looking at social media or whatever. So I encourage you, definitely put that on one thing that's in your control, because even if we don't think the news and social media is not a stressor for us, maybe write down how many times you check your phone on those things. Just put a little hash mark throughout the day to realize how maybe addicting it is, or how often you do and maybe you don't recognize you do. But that's one way to reduce stress in your life too. So there are lots of things that we can control. There are many things that we can't control, that we've got to learn to mark out and we've got to learn to let go. Overcoming the isolation blues. So we are social beings. As humans, we are not meant to isolate, right? And that's part of the reason why this shutdown and this stay-at-home order was extremely difficult, because we are not meant to be alone. We are meant to socialize. It's good for us physically, it's good for us mentally, it's good for us emotionally. They use solitary confinement as torture in prison and in militaries, right? And what happens when you put someone in solitary confinement? It is not a good thing. We are not meant to be alone. So, I mean, thank goodness we do have Zoom and Google Meets and ways that we can see each other, because JP and I were talking before we even started, like all the kids at school, it's hard for me to tell, you know, there's a lot of communication that happens between human beings that is nonverbal. That is your facial expressions and your body language, right? But especially your facial expressions. We're not seeing people smile, right? It's hard to even hear them when we're in the hall and we say, good morning. It's hard to hear if they're talking back. And it makes me sad because we need to be able to see that. You know, you'd be surprised at what a smile does for you. There's research behind that too, in the endorphins that it releases for you and the person who's receiving your smile. So find ways to connect, and not just via text, to hear someone's voice. How many of us have had our parents or grandparents say, I'd rather you call me, or they'd rather call you than text you? My mom is getting really good at texting, but I still call her every single morning because she wants to hear my voice, right? And I cherish that because there's something about that instead of just texting. So I urge you to connect with your family, connect with your friends. Do a Zoom with them if you want. Or how many people have gotten really creative with that and done happy hour Zooms and, Zooms for all kinds of things. They've done those in-home party, Zooms. They've Zoomed with that. So find ways to do those things. Plus, when you're Zooming, you can be really comfortable. Even if you have to have a nice shirt on, you can still have sweatpants on, right? Nobody can see down below your waist. You are not in this alone. And I know that's easier said than done. You're like, yeah, right, I'm still alone at home, right? But what I mean by that is everyone is in this situation. Everyone's experiences are different, though, just like I said. Everyone's, home life, their work status. Some people are still working and always have been. Some people haven't. And some people lost their jobs. Some people are truly struggling financially. Some people are not. Some kids are at home raising their siblings because their parents have to work to pay bills. Some kids are at home with very supportive families. Some kids are not, right? Everyone's situation is different, but everyone is stressed. I don't know a single person who could say, I'm not stressed at all. This isn't bothering me, right? Even those people who seem to carry it very well and have that, paper plate like that's on that commercial where they're smiling, but really behind it they're not, right? Everybody's feeling it. This is where I was talking about when you think about all the roles you play. If you think about everything that you are, the role that you play in life, you play an awful lot. And it doesn't matter what your situation is at home, there are a lot of roles that you're playing. And what's important is that we recognize you are a role in there too. So you're not just identified as somebody's parent, somebody's wife, somebody's daughter, somebody's son, coach, coworker, individual. Guess what? You're you. Right? If I was making this, I would have lots of roles on there, but where's the role of Gina? Right? Where do I fall in there? That's where you want to pay attention to your self-care, because you are the most important role in that previous pie chart, right? So recognizing, now this one has video games on there, but a lot of adults play video games. I like Guitar Hero. I haven't played it in forever, but it's a lot of fun. And solitaire, so that's a game, I guess. But, finding those things that do help you whenever you feel super stressed, just like I said, the weighted blanket, right? Or the fuzzy socks, whatever it is, the big cup of coffee, a little piece of chocolate. I like to say, my mom has been buying donuts for my office every week, God love her. And there's so many of us that are like, okay, I'm cutting out sugar. I'm not, I'm going to start watching what I eat. And my mom's like, Gina, one day a week is not going to hurt you. Have the donut. So I told everyone at work, and she writes a little note on there wishing everyone a good day. And I told her, Mom, just get like 2 Long Johns and a couple, really, not many people are going to eat it. I picked it up this morning, and it weighed about 10 pounds. And I was like, Karen, how many donuts are in here? Tons of donuts. They're all gone, right? Because everyone's stressed right now, and it's okay sometimes if you eat the donut, right? If that's what's going to help you through the day, then eat it. Then do it. Then use it. As long as it's healthy, right? Not a donut's super healthy, but. Okay, so regulation. So when we talk about, okay, so I know I'm super stressed, I know I'm super overwhelmed, this, and this is what's bothering me, what do I do? So regulation means that you're getting yourself in check. So you're being mindful of how you're feeling. That mindfulness is recognizing those emotions that you're feeling right then and why. You're breathing. Again, you're filling up your lungs. You're being in the moment. Don't worry about what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen 2 months from now. Remember when I said sometimes it's the unknown that stresses us the most? Be in the moment and concentrate on what's going on right then. Recognize your response and put in some purposeful strategies that help. The music, the rocking, take a walk. Go outside and just listen to the birds and to nature. You would be surprising as to how grounding that can be, being outside. Pull up on YouTube you can pull up the relaxation music I was telling about, and it'll pull up a drone that flies over a beautiful beach. So if looking at the beach helps, right? Or if just listening to the waves crashing on the shore helps. Focus on your senses again, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you see. Checking your pulse rate. Sometimes you think, okay, man, I'm super stressed, guys, my heart feels like it's gonna explode, and then you take your pulse and you're like, I'm good, I'm alive, I got a pulse, right? It's all right. Fidgets, having something in your hand, it does help calm your brain down because it helps you to start triggering that midbrain. This is an app you can do on your phone. There are lots of apps you can do on your phone. This is the Calm app, C-A-L-M. And this is a breath bubble. But there are lots of apps, if you look at the Play Store and you type in calming app or you type in relaxation app, there are lots of apps you can download on your phone now. This one is a really good one, and we use this with the kids too, and I've used it with myself. Again, everything that I'm sharing with you, I've tried. And that's why I want to share it, because if we use them, depending on what is most comfortable and useful for you, they work. So the breath bubble, when you press it, can I do that from here or no? It will tell you to inhale, and I want you guys, 1 second, JP, I want you guys to try it when it says this. Usually we have, and you can do this with your kids at home, you can do this for yourself. We have them stand up, and they put both hands out in front of them, and when we say inhale, they pull one arm back and they inhale, pause for a second, and then you blow it out. But you have to sit straight up, and you should really feel it in your stomach. You know when you go to the doctor and he's listening to your lungs and they say, take a deep breath? A lot of times we're not taking a deep breath, right? But if we really sit up and we really focus on, you should feel your abdomen expand, and you can feel your diaphragm moving up, and your lungs are actually filling up. This helps a ton. Anyone learn Lamaze classes in the breathing when you're pregnant? I don't even know if they still make you go through Lamaze, because my oldest is 26 years old, but we did it, and I can tell you, going through natural childbirth, that's what saved me, was my breathing and focusing on my breathing. But Lamaze, or breathing, helps a ton. Okay, can I do that? Oh, you did it already? Oh, okay. Did you guys do it? Okay, good. All right, so I was still talking. I like to talk. No, that's all right. I wasn't even looking. You're good. So that's a great app, though, to have on your phone. If you're getting ready to, do something new, go to an interview, do something that you're like, ooh, I'm nervous. Again, being nervous is natural. Try breathing. And if you can't do it and you need someone to tell you when to inhale and exhale, get it on your phone and just do the app real quick. You can do 3-4 breaths in, and you'd be surprised at how relaxed your body gets. So some other self-care strategies to help you stay regulated. Make sure you schedule yourself in the day. Give yourself, just like you're doing tonight, God love you, because I know that you guys have things going on. And there's probably a list, if you're like me, that you're like, oh, I still have to do this, and this. It's okay, because this 1 hour out of your day for you is worth it. And you have to be able to, there's no guilt in that, there's no shame in that. Because I learned after my son died, when I got to that point of I didn't even want to wake up in the morning, I realized that no one is responsible for taking care of me but me. Lots of people wanted to take care of me, but who's responsible for me? Me, right? So I had to take the steps to take care of myself. You have to focus on yourself. You have to give yourself time during the day to do that. Is the source of your stress something you can control again? Please don't beat yourself down with what-if statements, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, because they don't end positively. Collaborate with other parents. Again, you're not on an island. Take purposeful brain breaks throughout the day. Brain break sounds like, oh, I can get on my phone and check social media. That's not it. Those purposeful strategies that help you get out of fight or flight mode. And even if you're not in fight or flight mode, give yourself 15 minutes out of the day that you say, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go for a walk. Sometimes at school, when I'm going back from lunch duty and I'm going back to my office, I'll go outside and walk. Sunlight is huge, right? Just being able to see the sun and feel the breeze and listen to the birds, but give yourself a few minutes to do that. Again, the calming apps for your phone are also great. The very top one on the left, there is nothing wrong with going to talk to someone, because talking, sometimes just verbalizing what you're feeling and what's stressing you out, getting it out of your mind, and either written on a piece of paper in a journal or voicing it to someone, whether it's a counselor, a therapist, your mom, or a friend, sometimes just getting it out helps. I had a student the other day come down to my office, super upset, because her teacher had to be quarantined because it was a possible exposure right outside of school. So he was quarantined, and she was very upset about that. And she came into my office and was so mad. She was crying, and she used some profanity, and she wasn't quiet. In my office, she got done, and someone asked me, wow, I heard her from the other, and I love this kid to death. I heard her from, out in our office, was everything okay? And I was like, oh yeah, she's upset. She was like, I'm over this pandemic. I'm over it. I'm done. She was waving the white flag, right? She was like, I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of people being on quarantine. I'm sick of having to stay at home. She's like, I'm sick of this stupid mask. And she was going on and on. And they were like, well, what'd you say to her? And I said, when she finished, I said, amen, sister. I feel the same way. I'm over it too. And when I said amen, sister, to her, the look on her face and the look in her eyes, because I couldn't see her mouth, when she looked at me was like, first of all, oh, she's not going to correct me on what I said, right? Because it was a safe space for her to be able to say what she needed to say and get it out. But the look on her face was a look of relief, like, oh, you get it. Like you do too, right? I didn't think she was crazy. I didn't think she had 3 heads. I didn't look at her like, what the heck is wrong with you, right? I was like, amen. You said everything I'm feeling. I hate the mask. I'm done with this lockdown. I just want kids back in school, right? So sometimes it's just voicing it and getting it out. And then that other person saying, yeah, me too. Or not saying anything and just listening. Be creative. Find hobbies. I've gotten into painting. And I love painting. It's a challenge for me. But maybe try a new hobby. Try puzzles again. Animals and pets are great therapists. Even my goats are good therapists. They're very emotional animals. Even my chickens are. I mean, and sometimes the one I put in all caps on there is laugh. We have to laugh. I mean, there was a long time where I would catch myself laughing and I felt horrible. Because I was like, here I am. My son's no longer here, and I'm having a good time, right? Like, why am I smiling? Why am I laughing? But it is so good for your soul. And it's contagious, right? When you hear somebody laughing, you start laughing too. But laughing, just like smiling, releases a ton of endorphins. So even if you have to pull up something funny on the internet, I had relaxation music on in my office, and it was a live drone, and when I went to close it out and I clicked on it, it was penguins. And they were the little chubby tuxedo penguins, right? And they're like, what? And then they'd fall on their face, and I was in my office cracking up. My secretary came back, and she's like, are you okay? What are you laughing at? I was like, you gotta look at these guys. It feels good. It makes you feel better. So lots of things that you can do. Spend time with family and friends, again, even if you have to be creative about how you spend that time. This is what I was talking about before. This is our virtual wellness center for the district. And this is located on our website. It's also linked in here, but it's on our website. If you go to the community tab and you go all the way to the bottom, it says Fox C6 Wellness Center right there. And if you click on that, it brings you to this homepage. So you'll see lots of good information on here. But you'll see at the top on that menu bar, there's virtual resources, there's helpful web links, coping strategies, community resources, and under the More tabs, we have crisis hotlines, a DIY toolkit, and then ways to contact every school in our district so that you can get to their counseling department, their guidance department, or the school themselves. So, Mr. Presidente, if you'll go to virtual resources, if you click on that, there are all these things under there. Coloring and creativity. There is live animal webcams. We have puppies on there. You can watch golden retriever puppies. There's smartphone apps. There's guided meditations, videos that you just click on, and we'll show you some of these. There's mindfulness, puzzles and games, exercise, and music, and these are all virtual. So you don't have to print anything. You don't have to download anything. You just click on them. So if we go to the live animal webcams, please. And you can scroll down and see there are lots of them on here. So if you want to look under the ocean, if you want to watch panda bears, whatever you want to watch, puppies, you can click on those and watch them even if it's for 5 minutes. And I promise you, you're going to smile and you might even laugh, especially if you get the penguins. The coloring and creativity, it's online. So you just do it with your mouse or with your fingertip on your phone. And it's pretty fun. And it's really good for, go to that interactive generative art right there, please. Yep. And then all you got to do is move the mouse. Yep. And so you draw. It's really cool. So all of these, again, we, myself, Mrs. Allen at Fox High School, and my secretary, Miss Young, built this. We didn't come up with the idea, but we added all of these things on there purposefully to help when you're in that very stressful mode. I just need something to calm me down. My kid is really stressing out right now. They're in tears because of all this work they need to do. Let them take a 5-minute break. You can take them to the virtual wellness center. Go under those virtual tools and choose one of those things and let them do it. On the meditation, there's a 5-minute meditation on there for kids from preschool all the way up to adults to do. So there's lots of them on there. So definitely check that out. You can bookmark it. Any of those videos that you like on there, if you find something else that's a great resource, absolutely send it to me. Email me or call me, and we'll get it on there. So we're still working on it. We'll still be adding more resources. The DIY toolkit, when you click on that, it walks you through how to set up a virtual toolkit for yourself so that you can bookmark some of those and have those at your fingertips, you know, on your computer, at your office. So it walks you through step 1, step 2, and when we say like exercise, they're all on here. You don't have, and they're quick and easy. And then there's the music links. We put some of those on there, so all you have to do is click on those if you don't want to search them yourself. And then celebrating your successes at the end, right? So it's real simple, but it walks you through it, and if you can click on any of those pictures and it takes you directly to those resources. So it's a really cool website. We are really excited to kick it off and get it out, so it is on the district website right now under that community tab. So just a couple quick reminders. No one expects you to handle everything, so quit expecting that from yourself. And just breathe, right? Even your kids don't expect you to handle everything. No one is the perfect parent. No one is the perfect daughter, the perfect son, wife, father, any of that. Don't expect it from yourself. We can't set our expectations up here when they're not realistic. I like to add humor, right? Because smiling and laughter is good for the soul. So what happens when we try to handle chronic stress without proper supports in place? Well, it's day 12 without chocolate and I lost hearing in my left eye, right? You lose your hearing in your eyes and you lose your sight in your ears, right? Things go crazy and you lose control. So you have to put strategies in place. And again, it's not shameful. There's no guilt in that. It's not saying, oh, you can't handle that. No one can handle everything. And just because we carry it well doesn't mean the load isn't extremely heavy, right? And sometimes that's a hard lesson to learn because we put the most pressure on ourselves. Like I said, we're our worst critics, so we think I should be able to handle this. I got it. Everything's fine. I got it, right? I did that for about 4 months after Cole died. I should be able to do this. I can go through this journey. I don't need anyone's help. I don't need medication. I don't need any of that. I got it. Until I realized no one's responsible for helping me but me. And I've got to take the step to get help because guess what? I couldn't do it by myself. And I still don't, right? So there's no shame in that. And I definitely don't want you losing your hearing in your eyes or your sight in your ears. So another quick reminder, whatever happened to you today, you did your best. You made it through the day. Take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let go. So one thing that I tell people, that I tell myself, and this is just me personally, and it may work for you as well, but when you've experienced a traumatic event, right? When you've experienced, when I went through the death of my son and didn't think I was going to make it, now that I'm almost 6 years out and things happen, right? We're at school now. This is crazy, right? It's stressful for every single human being involved. From little kids who aren't even in school yet, to the entire family, to the entire staff and educators. But when things go wrong at school and something doesn't go as I have planned, something didn't turn out as I have planned, I tripped and fell on my face. What I think to myself is if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, I'm doing okay. Right? I can make it. I can put supports in place. Again, sometimes it's the build up to the unknown that scares us the most. The first year anniversary of Cole's death, I was a wreck. I did not want that day to come. I was like digging my heels in the ground. I am not going. I don't want to be a year without my son. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. And then the day came, and we found ways to celebrate him. And then at the end of the day, I realized I made it. Right? We made it. You do your best. You make it through the day. Pat yourself on the shoulder. Don't expect yourself to do everything because no one expects that from you. Relax and let it go. And then we move on to tomorrow. And in case nobody told you today, I will tell you. You are beautiful. You are loved. You are needed. You are strong. And you are enough. Again, we criticize ourselves the most, but it's important that we remind ourselves, and if nobody told you today, you are enough. You are doing an awesome job, and don't doubt that. Because when we do what we feel is best for our family, ourselves, and our kids, we've done good. You can lay down at night and know that you did good, and you had a good day. Even though we had bumps along the way, even though we may have fallen on our face and things didn't go as planned, we did it because we thought what was best, right? And again, there are things that are outside of our control that happen that we can't control. We just control how we respond. But at the end of the day, if you've done your best, you did good. And my challenge that I'll leave you with is do more things that make you forget to check your phone. And always be sure to take care of you. Checking our phones can be an addiction. You take a phone from a teenager at a high school and you think you just cut both their arms off, right? They lose it. But guess what? They make it through the day, right? So my challenge is to do more things for yourself and for your family that make you forget to check your phone. But absolutely do not forget to take care of you. Just like when you're on an airplane and they tell you to put the oxygen on you first, even though we're like, why would I do that? I would put it on my kids. Well, you may not be there to put it on your kids if you don't put it on yourself first, right? So you have to find time to take care of you. So that's what I have. We're right, by that clock we're good, but I think we might be a few minutes past because I think that clock's a little slow. But again, thank you guys so much for coming because I know you're busy. And those that are watching us on YouTube, I know that you guys are busy too. I hope you were able to hang with us. But hopefully when you walk out of here, hopefully you feel a little bit better. And hopefully you've got some things and some strategies in mind. I encourage you to try them again. I've tried them. And I wouldn't be sharing these things. I'm not sharing these things just because I read them in a book or I heard them at a conference. I've been through it and experienced it, and they help. And we have to take care of ourselves. We're responsible for taking care of us. So, and then we can take care of the other people that we love in our family. So hopefully you guys got some good things out of this. And if you have any questions, I'm, again, Gina Buhner at Fox High School. You can reach out to me, call me, email me. If you have ideas for our website, absolutely share them because I'm all about sharing. Definitely share that, too, with your family because that's for everybody. So thank you, guys. Be careful going home, and thanks for coming.